Let me make a statement and spend a few minutes defending the point, and that is God simply has to be. He simply has to be. Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning, God." Moses never defends the existence of God. Moses never tries to give 10 apologetic points for the existence of God. The reason he does this is simply because he understands what I'm about to uncover, and that is that God simply has to be. When you talk about the notion that God simply has to be, there's only two views that you can hold to. You either believe that God simply can't be, or you believe God simply has to be. Let me break those points down a bit. If you believe that God simply can't be, you have to believe that matter is eternal. If you believe that God simply has to be, you believe that God is eternal. Let's look at the logistics of these 2 points and these 2 views to determine why logistically God simply has to be. Let's begin with the view that says God simply can't be. In other words, matter is eternal. In order to take this view or this position, you have to simply believe what is completely and totally illogical and impossible. Let me explain. Cosmology is the science of cause and effect. This simply says that if you have an effect, such as a car or a boat or anything that is made up of matter, you had to have a cause greater than the effect in order to create the effect. In other words, someone produces something and no one produces nothing. That's simply logical. To put it another way, cosmology says that thin air can't produce thick matter. Really pretty simple. Now, if you believe that God simply can't be, or that matter is eternal, you have to believe in an eternity past set of cause and effects with no original first cause. In other words, you believe that if you go back into eternity past, there were cause before cause before cause before cause into eternity past with no original first cause. Let me illustrate. Suppose I tell you that I have a book with every question that's ever been asked, and you say to me, "Can I get a copy of your book?" And I say to you, "Well, I don't have the book. My brother has the book." "Well, he doesn't have the book. My uncle has the book." "Well, my uncle doesn't have the book. His daughter has the book." And you can take this all the way back into eternity past. Now watch this. Even if you go back into eternity past saying that the previous person had the book doesn't exist unless someone actually has a copy of the book. It is impossible. Somebody actually has to have a copy of the book in order for the book to exist. In other words, for the book to exist, someone has to say, "The buck stops with me because I have the book." Otherwise, the book does not exist. It is simply in theory or ethereal. Take that same logic to the universe, and let's say you take the position God simply can't be, or that matter is eternal. Using the same logic as the book, you would have to believe that there was an eternity past with causes and no original first cause, as I mentioned earlier. But unless someone can say, "The buck stops with me and I created the universe cannot exist. It absolutely is a theory unless someone can actually say, "The buck stops with me and I'm the one that created the universe." There has to be an original first cause or we can't exist. In order for atheists to exist, they need an original first cause. To exist, it simply has to be this way. That is why I said in the beginning, God simply has to be. There's no way around it. It simply has to be this way. Let me dig a bit here. Because there has to be an original first cause for us to exist, God has to be the only uncaused first cause in the universe, and there's no way around it. It simply has to be this way. Let's examine this closely. Matter can't be eternal. It's impossible. Matter needs a first cause. That leaves us with only one possibility to believe in, and that is God is the only uncaused first cause, and there's no way around it. It simply has to be. Because God is the only uncaused first cause, which He has to be, gives us some idea and some notion into His existence. And that is, God has to be eternal. It simply has to be this way. There's no way around it. God has to be the only uncaused first cause, and He has to be eternal. That is why David wrote in Psalm 90, verse 2, "From everlasting to everlasting you are God." And in Isaiah 40, verse 28, he says, "The eternal King, our God." As I stated in the beginning, God simply has to be. You may call yourself an atheist, an agnostic, a materialist, an evolutionist, a Big Bang theorist, or even a humanist, whatever it may be, but the fact that you are alive is proof positive that God simply has to be.